Can you see it?
Yep, you're all on. You're all set. We can.
Okay, perfect. Now let me get back there. All right, just a bit of an introduction here. I have been a chiropractor for 32 years, and she mentioned I'm board certified in quantitative EEG. That's looking at the electrical balance or imbalances in the brain and what that means, and what symptoms arise when that gets out of balance, and knowing what to do about it. That's part of it. Father of 8 children, grandfather of 24. It's I think it meets the Chinese definition of crisis. Opportunity on a dangerous wind. So it's pretty crazy, but sure do love those grandkids. Founder and owner of Clear Mind Center of Idaho. That's located in Meridian, Idaho. Here's my contact information. If you have any questions about what I'm talking about, it's dr.initialj.harmon@gmail.com. For questions about these patches, you can go to the person sponsoring this with the Energy Healing Conference coming up, lifewave.com/Midge Woods. Just a little bit about what we do so you'll understand where these patches fit, stimulating stem cells. We do microcurrent neurofeedback and laser therapy. This is all frequency. I'm going to be talking about frequencies. We also do genetic testing for little variations someone might have that prevents their biochemical processes from going to completion, and therefore they can't do something. Like they can't detox, or they can't regulate their cholesterol, or they can't manage their weight properly, and can all be from different genetic variants. And I put in here stem cell dash patch. This is what I'm going to focus on today. They don't have stem cells in them. They are called stem cell activation patches, and they work through photobiomodulation, much like what I'm going to show you with my lasers. Microcurrent neurofeedback resets the speed of delta waves. Delta is associated with brainstem and sleep, brainstem function. Both the fight or flight part of our brainstem, the autonomic nervous system, and the resting, digesting, healing part of the system run on delta waves, but they run on different parts of delta waves. And when we get head injury or chemical exposure or severe emotional trauma, what happens, it makes it so the frequency that runs the parasympathetic nervous system can't do it. And all you can do is run the fight or flight. Now I'm anxious and I have increased heart rate and I don't digest well. And my life is terrible. I don't sleep very well. And I never feel really well. So microcurrent neurofeedback reboots that part of the brain so that the parasympathetic nervous system can start working. People who have that are, they haven't felt well for a long time, and they usually have gone to a lot of different places and tried a lot of different things, and then they end up in my office, and then we fix them. This is one of my lasers, a couple of my lasers. The big one shows the going on the side of the head and the top. It has 3 diodes. This has a little more power, and it can get into the brain. It helps speed up regeneration, decrease inflammation, and increase removal of the proteins that build up in the brain that cause Alzheimer's and dementia. Here's another look at this one. We do that as part of our program. The bottom line is your brain can be fine-tuned, and this is the name of the system we use over there. So if you're in a different part of the world, the country, and you want to do that stuff with the brain, it's called IASIS. That's the Egyptian word for health. IASIS, look up an IASIS microcurrent neurofeedback practitioner. Interesting side note, the VA is co-sponsoring a study right now at San Diego State because of all the help their veterans have been getting with this ISS microcurrent neurofeedback. Genetic testing that we do, it's a snapshot of your genes that might have variants and don't allow you to respond to things properly. These are people that I can't handle that. No, I'm allergic to that. No, I'm sensitive to these chemicals. No, I can't do that. I can't eat that. All kinds of things usually happen. They prevent people from responding normally to foods, vitamins, chemicals, different treatments, these patches, exercise. Man, I just can't recover. It takes me forever to recover, or proper weight management. Here's my test. I actually got both genetic defects regarding the MTHFR. And so from this test, we have one single formulation formulated that supports all of somebody's genetic SNPs so that it's not it's nutrition without guessing. That's part of our program. All right, what's a chiropractor doing brain stuff? Tammy mentioned when she started that sometimes you have these shifts happen and, you know, bad shifts happen to people, and then you can either get bitter or better. And I had to make some shifts to help my own family. Within a 2-year period, we had my 18-year-old niece committed suicide in March of 2010. March of 2011, my oldest daughter's husband was murdered. And then the next year, my sister died, and my younger daughter said, "Daddy, everybody's going away." They had anxiety, depression, insomnia, and prescription drugs, and counseling weren't working for us. So I decided that I was going to find things that fix brains. And that's how I ended up here. Now, I don't do chiropractic at all anymore. It's all brain stuff. All right. Now we get to the main topic. Everything is frequency. Our bodies are frequencies. Our bodies are energy. You see these waves going through this representation of a human frame. And as we sit here, there are different frequencies going through us, cell phone waves, other EMFs. And because we don't have anything in our body that interprets those, we can't hear other people's conversations on the cellular waves, but they are going through us. We are affected by light, by sound, everything. You can look at disease as a disharmony somewhere in that energy field. And these stem cell activating patches work on that pathway. Just to give you an idea how much our body is just empty space and energy, this represents one atom. Notice the size of the nucleus. There's more space between the nucleus and the outside shell of the electrons that are revolving around that atom than there is the solid part, the atom. The rest of it is empty space. So if you combine a bunch of atoms into molecules, it's still mostly empty space. So we think of our body as something that's solid, but it's just a bunch of energy around empty space. In fact, we can put one of those lasers on top of somebody's head with a photon sensor on their feet, and some of the photons can be sensed clear down in the feet. I tell you about that because I'm going to tell you about a man today. You remember this guy? Nikola Tesla. He's the guy who invented free energy, and they made sure that they did away with him and his experiments. But I'm not going to tell you about this guy. This is one of his inventions. This is another one. I'm actually going to tell you about someone who's on the level of Nikola Tesla, and that is the founder of LifeWave, founder and inventor, David Schmidt. And I love this picture of him. It was just a picture taken by one of my friends at an event in Florida a couple of months ago. David Schmidt, here's another picture of him. Back prior to 2004, he had already invented a specialized battery for the Navy. And the Navy had a problem because Navy SEALs that were on long missions in submarines had to stay awake, 100-hour missions or more. They were using amphetamines, they were using caffeine, getting addicted, and it's not good for the body. So they said, hey, David, can you come up with a way that of increasing energy in these Navy SEALs and keeping them awake? That's an all-natural way of doing that. This is what David invented. He figured out how to utilize biophotons that our bodies are already making and specifically reflecting them back into the body, and only doing that with certain portions of it so that it's concentrated and that it turns on pathways in the body. If you want to write this down or take a snapshot of it, I can't play it. There's not enough time. But this is a video that was taken in the early days of LifeWave in about 2004. But this is the chief scientist talking about the science about how these patches work. Vimeo.com/1575-2219. Watch that video. It's incredible. Everybody knows about vitamin D. You go out in the sun and you get more vitamin D. That's what the flu season is all about, is a lack of sunshine in the winter. Notice the flu only comes around in the winter. Everybody's indoors. They don't have enough vitamin D. Vitamin D binds to our white blood cells, and it's like a key to turn the white blood cell on to go kill stuff. If you don't have enough of it, your immune system will be weak and you will get sick. Well, this is how it works. The sunlight goes in and then it converts 7-dehydrocholesterol into precursor vitamin D. You get vitamin D. Here's another look at it. I want you to look at this one. This is a picture of infrared heat coming from bodies. I want to point out this little word over here, radiation. So we get heat, we get evaporation, we get conduction or convection heat. This radiation part, what is that? That's infrared, far infrared and near infrared. Here's another picture of heat coming from the body. They use it in thermography to detect where cancer might be because it has a higher metabolic rate and you get more heat generation and you can see it. So we're going to be talking about LifeWave and the X39 stem cell activation patch. And excuse me, LifeWave, we're not going to go into it today, but there are different patches to do different things. We'll be talking a little bit more about that at the conference, but we're not going to be able to go through that. It's a little bit too long. We'll go through that in the conference, but LifeWave has distribution centers all over the world: San Diego, Ireland, Japan, and Taiwan. This is the first patch that LifeWave, it's very similar to some of the other patches in that it's photobiomodulation, but it's the first one to actually elevate a peptide in our body called the GHK copper peptide. This is a normally occurring substance in our body, but it declines with age. And by about 60 years of age, it has declined by about 60%. I like that. It's easy to remember, 60 and 60. So, and it's one of the causes of aging. More like it allows the aging process to occur rather than doing the things that it normally does, that a few of which I'm going to show you. So what actually happens when we place one of these patches on our body? And I have to tell you, the patch looks like a little Band-Aid. It looks like a little round Band-Aid. And we place it on the body. And here's what David figured out. How do I raise that GHK copper peptide? What he did is he evaluated the body and determined what biophotons our bodies make already. Which portions of that would accomplish a mission if we reflected it back into the body? How could we selectively, like a dial on a radio, let's select this frequency. What does that do? Well, the first patch he did, he figured out how to turn on what's called beta oxidation. That was for the Navy SEALs. Beta oxidation is fat burning. So he figured out how to increase fat burning in our body by 300 to 600 calories more per day and utilize that for energy. So what it does, we make ATP either from fats, amino acids, carbohydrates. So he figured out how to turn on one little switch in the mitochondria that burns that's the door where fats go in to come out the back door as ATP. So beta oxidation. This patch signals the body to do something different. What is that? It signals the body to make more of that substance on the screen. If you look right here where it says Cu, that stands for copper. This is 3 different amino acids all combined and wrapped around this copper molecule, copper ion, and it acts as a switch, a signaling molecule to do a bunch of different things. Only one of them is to elevate our stem cells. GHK copper peptide, LifeWave actually had to prove to the US Patent Office, and in 2020, they had to prove that it raises in the bloodstream, it raises this GHK copper peptide, which they did. And in 2020, they were granted a patent on this technology. I highly recommend you go to this website. This is the doctor's website who actually isolated this and discovered the GHK copper peptide clear back in 1973. His website implies what the GHK copper peptide does, reverse aging with GHK.com. And you'll see 6 different categories on there of what the GHK peptide, copper peptide does. Only one of them is increasing your stem cells. There are a lot of other benefits, and I'm going to talk about them right now. So really quickly, I'm going to go through this. We're going to go into more detail at the conference. The way they discovered it is they put this peptide in petri dishes with old liver cells. It converted the age, or caused the liver cells to reverse in their age, and they started producing enzymes and proteins like young liver cells. And they thought, yeah, well, there must be something to this. So let's do a lot of experiments. You can go to PubMed or the National Institute of NIH, National Institutes of Health website, and you'll find all kinds of, type in GHK copper peptides, all kinds of studies that are done on that. There's rapid wound healing. It causes an increase in collagen repair. And then you look over here and you say, why would someone want to destroy collagen? Wait a second. I want you to hold that in the back of your mind here for a minute. I'm going to show you some slides. It resets our genes to a younger state. So how does that happen? What it does, it actually repairs 4,200 of our genes. This is why some people have remarkable health, life-altering health changes in a few days by putting this patch on, sometimes instantly. Because we're talking about light. How long does it take you to see the light once you turn the switch on? It doesn't take any time at all. So if somebody has a gene that's been damaged and it cannot work, we call it coding. It can't code to tell your body to do something. And all of a sudden that's repaired. This is why people get these dramatic results. I tell people, don't expect that. My changes came over months and 15 months, the latest ones. I've been using these for about 15 months. I honestly feel about 15 years younger. And people tell me, man, compared to your first webinars you did, you look different. So I'm really glad about that. If you're squeamish, I should have told you to turn away. This was a friend of mine's brother's back. He had this thing on his back for a long time, and doctors said, it kind of looks like a lipoma. We don't know what it is. He had a lot of pain in it. But I want you to look at the transformation. First, it opened up right here, and then it healed. And that's the, he had it for 8 years, by the way. I'm going to get rid of this in case you are squeamish. That's the collagen destruction. It had to destroy the capsule that was around it first by destroying the scar tissue, and then let it ooze out, and now it's healed. And that's what that was all about. Researchers have theorized that we developed this GHK copper peptide to help us rapidly change with our rapidly changing environment. For example, rapid changes of weather and need to fight off infections, after aggression and war. It accelerates wound healing. And look right here. This is really important for those of you who might have neuropathy or something similar. By the way, these aren't intended to treat, cure, or prevent any disease, but they support your body so it can fix things itself. But it increases, and this has been shown through research, it increases the little blood vessel formation in wounds, but also in like diabetic feet, where they don't have good circulation. It's been damaged by the high amount of glucose in their blood. So it rapidly repairs those and helps them regrow, and then it can nourish the ending of the nerves and things. We have lots of testimonials of people getting over those things. Times of starvation increases the healing of a lot of skin tissue, gut issues, intestine, bone rapidly heals bone tissue, and so on. Tammy, I want to make sure that I'm aware of the time. Can you give me how much time I have left, please?
Honestly, I'm like really enjoying learning about this. I went and got my box of stuff. I put mine on. I've got my, where is it now? Okay, it's kind of like blends in here, but I went and got the energy ones on. And so I'm like, oh, this is good. I'm taking notes. So if you're okay to keep going for like 5 to 10 minutes, that's good.
I just have some pictures and things that aren't as they're a lot better than the ones that were not for squeamish people. But here's a little slide I made about how it helps repair the damage to our genes. We all have oxidative stress. Just walking outside, there's chemicals out there, and there's sunlight, and so to me sunlight is good, but maybe too much might cause some oxidative stress and emotional stress. This is all oxidative stress, which damages the ending of our genes. Here we have normal genes. With normal genes, we get normal expression. When we have damage to them, the gene expression gets changed. And now they're damaged. They might not be functioning. They might be doing something we don't want it to do. The GHK copper peptide repairs the endings of them that are damaged through oxidation. And now they are reset to a younger state, which is normal expression, which leads to a younger you. And then there's some words, a little bit scientific, upregulate, downregulate, pleiotropic. What the heck is that? Upregulate just means sometimes you got to have the gas on a process or a system, but sometimes when you get in a car, it's good to have the accelerator, but sometimes it's also good to stop. And if the gene that isn't working is the stop gene, and it tells our body to stop doing something, and it just keeps doing it, that's not good either. So downregulate means we slow it down or stop it. Pleiotropic means one gene can have an effect on other genes, sometimes many genes. And it's kind of like the fine-tuning part of it, where the actual gene is working, but it needs input from these 5 other genes to do it right. And it looks like this. So up at the top, it says genotype. In other words, the gene itself, gene 1, gene 2, gene 3. Gene 1 has an effect on the phenotype, or, this might be brown hair, it might be the way something else works, but it also affects what gene 2 affects. but gene 3 also affects that. So you have 3 genes affecting this, and you have 2 affecting these over here. That is the pleiotropic effect of genes. It's important that all the genes are working, that all the genes are repaired. This is what the GHK copper peptide does. This is not something that LifeWave, the company that makes the patch, is saying. This is what the research on PubMed is saying about how it fixes the genes. So just kind of a summary. The GHK copper peptide itself is antioxidant in properties. It's anti-inflammatory. It repairs those 4,200 genes, rapid wound healing, regenerative, and that's the stem cell activation, hair regrowth. I wasn't losing my hair, but my hair was a lot more gray, and it's getting dark first on top and it's coming down front. People actually had to tell me that. Do you realize your hair is getting brown again? I said, no, I don't look at the top of my head. Couple of other things. I mentioned that it's a naturally occurring thing. This isn't something that, your body is artificially made to produce. We have a lot of it when we're younger. It declines as we age, and it's one of the reasons we age. Why does it decline? Who knows? Pollution, EMFs, whatever it is, it's declining. And then this stem cell activation patch called the X39 activates more the production of more GHK copper peptide, and then that activates our stem cells. Okay, might mention sometimes it's immediate. It's like turning on a light switch. I'm working with a veteran right now, and he was diagnosed with ALS. From the moment he put on the patch, and this is 2 weeks ago, his pain that he was taking, pain pills, oxycodone, every 2 hours went away, and it hasn't come back. Anybody who knows me knows I'm not making that up. He actually ran through our parking lot the other day, last week. Another summary, a couple other things, mental clarity. This is why we use them in our protocols. There was actually a brain study that was done, and it was on brain coherence. And don't get confused by that. That's just a measurement of the activity in the brain. Is it pretty even, right and left? Is there good communication, side to side, front to back? There was better brain coherence after wearing the patches for 6 weeks, better memory after a week. Rapid pain relief, reduced inflammation, energy and vitality. That's usually the first thing people notice, unless it's like some drastic thing like Scott, the guy I was telling you about. It's like, man, I just have a better mood and I have more energy. Faster recovery from exercise and enhanced sports performance. Most everybody's heard of lactic acid. That's the stuff that makes your muscles sore after you work out. It increases processing and improves processing of lactic acid into energy so that it doesn't build up in your muscles and your muscles don't get sore. I've had lots of athletes tell me, we've been in the news for a long time. You can see this weightlifter down at the bottom. He has our energy patches on here. This guy has one of the spots we tell people to wear them 3 finger widths below the belly button. It's a very important acupuncture point. This guy has them on his forearms. Those are other acupuncture points. This guy right here has one right in the third eye area, affecting the pineal gland. There's a patch called the Nirvana that's really good for anxiety and depression. So that's where he has his, and that would also help with focus. This gal, I'm actually friends on Facebook with her. I think this is Chinese. Somebody did this meme. I had seen this before, and I thought this was really good because it had a follow-up picture. But right here, you can see how stringy her hair was. And she looks like a different person. And these are some of the effects that it can have on them. This woman had Bell's palsy. She tells her story. And At the end of June 2019, she had Bell's palsy, the left eye no longer closed. I won't read this whole thing, but she was 41. The doctor thought her fast healing was because she was pretty young, 41, but she says she's completely healed, as you could see in that picture. This is a friend of mine, the healing that is occurring in her circulation in her feet, much less of the dark stuff. It's not perfect yet, but here's what we know about the GHK. For every day you wear that patch, it reverses the aging of your cardiovascular system by a day and a third. That's shown as through some research. And excuse me, oh yeah, this was my hair. And this is when my friend said, do you realize your hair's turning dark again on top? I said, no, and I looked at it, and this is how all of it used to be right here. It's pretty crazy. This was, I don't know, I think a couple of months ago. This was psoriasis, and that was, I don't know how many weeks later. This was a fingertip that was actually cut off, and the father insisted that the surgeon actually sew it back on. The surgeon said, no, it's gonna die if you do that, and we should just put a flap over it. The father knew that he had the X39 he was gonna put on it, and sure enough, that picture right there, that fingertip is dead. The black is necrosis. But the regenerative power of repairing and creating that microcirculation, those little vessels, it grew back, and it was like a new fingertip. And this is the story. It was slammed in a door. It talks about the surgeon reluctantly sutured it back on, and the father put it on there. I want to show you one more thing on here, and it has to do with something that's actually my wheelhouse, if you can see this. In my practice, I read MRIs and x-rays and things. Well, this one shows a herniated disc right there at C7T1. This shows that it's no longer bulging right there. Now, this is not just from, we don't just get this from using the X39. This is research on PubMed. You'll find where they actually injected the GHK copper peptide just subcutaneous above or just right by where there's a herniated disc, and they showed how it caused the disc to heal. Let me see if I can get